So I like to start with like a child's pose, which something like this, with your hips back, and I try and push my shoulder blades down to get a good stretch in the back, and push the shoulders towards the mat, the armpits towards the mat. And then I like to turn this into, I think it's called a dolphin pose. I'll probably get all these names incorrect, but it's more like your hips over your knees, stretch your arms out further, maybe rest your forehead on the mat and push down. It's really just a shoulder latch kind of stretch. All right, I think it's dolphin. So let's see what we're gonna do next here is what's called thread the needle. So you come up kind of into this tabletop position and you put your right arm through, left ear down, and this is to stretch the right lat. So what I do is I push my right forearm into the ground to deepen that stretch. And then the other side, thread the needle left, push down into the ground, and then I like to come up, back to tabletop, do a couple cat and cows. So that is arch, lower back down, look up, push hands into the ground, and then the opposite direction. And I do just a couple of these. And then what I'm gonna do is what's kind of like a traditional yoga flow. I think it's called like a vinyasa or something like that. But basically I'm gonna come up into up dog, which is this, and you can see how terribly tight I am. I'm kind of pump the ankles a little bit here. Then I come down into, I think it's called Chaturanga. Basically a plank that you move up into up dog. And then we'll go back into down dog. I hold this longer than typical yoga stretches. So my down dog is very tight. Like I can't get my heels to the ground at all. But one thing that I find that helps is if I come up with my fingertips and then slowly walk my hands back, which really stretches the calves and hamstrings for me. Okay, now once I'm here, I do a ragdoll pose where I hold my elbows. And so there's really kind of two positions here. There's one that's called, they typically call fold, where it's like you're totally folded over. The other one's where you like halfway breathe in, kind of straighten everything up. And then roll up. Okay. And while I'm up here, I like to do a quick quad stretch because my quads are super tight. And what I do here is, typically, a little bit different than most yogas, I like to add resistance into the stretching. So I'll be kicking into my right hand. Now to the left. All right. Come back down into a fold. And then walk out again towards to the down dog. Down dog. So next thing is this lunge position. So you move your right foot in between your hands. My microphone's here on my pocket, so if you hear static, that's what it's from. Lunge, drop your left knee down. Right hand's up. What I do here is, so I squeeze the left glute and push the hip forward. Stretch the hip flexor. And we do the same thing on the other side. So back to down dog. Left foot in between the hands. Right knee down. Squeeze the right glute, hands overhead. Stretch the hip flexor. Okay. What's next on this list here? Okay, two of my favorites. So I'm gonna come back to down dog. I'm gonna walk up again. Stay in the fold. Stretch up. Back to the fold. Back to down dog. And then we're gonna do what's called, I think, lizard. So this is one of my favorite stretches. step your right leg outside your right hand. Drop your left knee down. And you're gonna feel a big stretch in your hip flexor and your hips. So you can come down initially to get deep in that stretch. And then I like to come back up, kick the left knee up, or left leg up, twist, grab it with your right hand. And what I do is I kick my left foot into my right hand while I twist. So, and while squeeze the left glute. So this is like deep left hip flexor stretch, quad stretch with a good twist. It's one of my favorite ones. All right, so let's do the lizard on the other side. So back up to down dog. Kick left leg outside the left hand, right knee down, elbows to the mat. And then kick right leg up, grab it with your left hand, squeeze the right glute, kick the right foot into the left hand, twist. Okay, back to down dog. And then we're gonna do penguin, I think it's called. Hip stretch, which is another hip stretch. And when I come into down dog, I like to pump my ankles a little bit to keep working on that flexibility, that mobility. So here we're gonna bring right knee to right hand. You're kind of in that same kind of lizard-like position. Like to flex the left glute and then come down and stretch, fold out, and deep stretch into that right hip. This is one I like to hold out a little bit longer, but I'm not gonna hold it too long here. And then we'll do the left side. All right, let's do the left side, left penguin. So down dog, left knee to left hand. The left leg is kind of perpendicular to your body. Mine's a little bit less than perpendicular, probably because I'm not super mobile. And then you just fold over and just like totally relax into that left leg. All right, let's do a quick, I think vinyasa flow or whatever it's called, which is basically down dog. Plank, come down, hold the plank down here for a second. Up dog. And then back to down dog. And then in down dog, I'm gonna walk my hands up. And we're going to this triangle sequence. One of my favorite sequences here. All right. So what we're gonna do is take a wide stance and fold. And one thing I like doing with the triangle is progressively make my legs wider and wider. So I'll start here, fold my palms down to the ground, maybe straighten the back up, and then fold, straight, and then fold. I usually do sequences of that. Make the feet a little wider. Straighten, fold. One more time, wider foot stance. And then I'm gonna go into these side to sides, which I can't remember what they're called. Basically, I'm gonna kneel into my left leg. I try and keep my foot flat on the floor for one variation, but since I'm so tight, the second variation is when I come up on the toe, so I'll do that one second. So let's stay on the heel for a second, turn the right foot out. I push the right heel into the ground for that additional stretch, like the resistance type stretching. And then I'm gonna come to the other side and do the same thing. Let the heel stay on the ground for this time. Push the left heel into the ground, foot up in the air. Okay. Back to the left side. This time I'm gonna get up on my toe a little bit so I can get a deeper stretch into the right leg. Into the right hamstring. So now I'm up on my left toe a little bit. You'll be able to see it better in the camera when I'm on my right toe. But I'm pushing down, big time stretch in the inner hamstring here. Just go up on this toe a little bit. I think you might be able to see that. gap here. Okay. And now I'd like to turn these into some kinds of deep, wide-footed squats. So I push my knees out a little bit, up, bring the knees in, or bring the stance in a little bit more, squat down, feet in more. And once I get to this next kind of position, my heels are not going to want to stay down. We'll see how far I can go. Okay, so heels are still down here, but next one I'm probably going to do. So my heels no longer stay on, but I still like to practice a deeper position. I come up. All right, let's see what's next. Okay, next is camel, which is kind of backwards. So come on down to the knees. A little bit up on my mat. So I'm on my knees, and what I'm gonna do here is bring my arms out, grab onto my heels, and basically just open everything up. Squeeze the glutes a little bit to really stretch the hip flexors. So what I like to turn the camel into is then a deep quad stretch. Now I'm super tight in my quad, so I'll come down here. And right now, all I'll do is go down to my elbows. People generally would go down to their backs. I would like to be able to get to that point, but not quite there yet. I'm getting much closer. I couldn't even get to this when this was a no-go when I first started 3 months ago. See, I can almost get all the way down. Okay. Last kind of thing that I've been working on that I want to keep trying to work on is like a back handstand. I couldn't even get in this position much longer at the beginning, but now I can kind of get in a semi-position. So hands like this, I get up on my head, and then you push up. And my position looks terrible right now. Hopefully I can keep improving on this. Now sometimes I'll do a twist from here, depending on how much time I have, which the right leg will come over, left arm this, or left leg over, right arm this way, I look right. And the big takeaway when I do the twist like this is I breathe in, take a deep breath into the stomach, and when I do that, I push my right knee up, left knee holds it down and pushes against it. And I form real kind of tight, resistance. And then when I exhale, I release all that and stretch further. And then breathe in, push against each other, and then release. And I can get more and more distance as I do that. Okay, let's do the other side real quick. See, I usually start off like this, like my arm is like 1.5 feet off the ground. But as I breathe in and add resistance, and then release, I go further and further and further. All right, and let's see. I think I got like 1 or 2 more things here. Oh yeah, the classic happy baby. And then I like to do 2 shoulder things. So happy baby is kind of a classic yoga pose here, for just like this. And for me, I push very strongly into my hands, almost like I'm doing a squat into the air. And that's the way to flatten my lower back against the mat. So I push hard into my hands. Some people like to rock. It's nice. All right, let's do 2 shoulder things and then call it a day. First shoulder thing is you come on your stomach into goalpost arms. I think that's going to squash the mic here, but let's just do it anyways. Goalpost arms go like this. And then I'll do my left shoulder first. That's been my bad shoulder. So that's why this is a super important stretch for me to do. I lift my right leg up, and then you bring it over. I think you're supposed to keep your right shoulder down, but I've found deeper stretches if I lift my right shoulder up a little bit. Left arm is pushing into the ground, and as I twist, I feel a deep stretch in the left shoulder here. And then the other side, left leg up, you kick it around. I'm kicking the wall right now. Push into the ground with the right arm as you twist. I'll usually do 2 on each side there. And then the final thing is the last thing I actually only use, the only thing I use equipment for, kind of, and I use these bands. It's the X3 system. I've been using this in quarantine. It's been my home workout system. It's been great. And it might be able to get you a discount code. Check the link in the bottom if it's still active. But anyways, I use these elastic bands to do a shoulder stretch. Do overhead. I think I'm pretty much out of the camera, so I'll come down on my knees. Overhead and stretch back all the way around. And then I'll usually get a thicker band and do it again. So this is basically my whole 10 to 20 minute routine that I'll do when I do weight on workout days. So I just don't totally neglect stretching. These have been like kind of my favorite exercises in yoga. I mean, there's so many other poses and such in yoga that I like, but I didn't feel like I got as much out of them, like the various warrior poses and whatnot. I think they're good. A lot of stability kind of work, that it's good. But when it came to just, really working on mobility, these are the ones that I found, to be the most helpful, or that I was the worst at and needed the most work at. All right, so that's it. Hopefully you found this semi-beneficial. Part of making this was in self-interest, that I just wanted to be able to follow my own routine to give me something to stick with. Anyways, would love to hear more about poses that I should probably include in this. And thanks for watching. Have a good one.